Another great tool for adding lightness to your shadows and dark areas and then darkening your highlight areas is the shadows and highlight tool. I'm going to show it to you now. So let's say you have an image. So I redid this image and I added a bit too much contrast. So the sky is kind of washed out white, and of course these trees are once again a little too dark. So I'll show you this other tool that is really nice. You can just go to Image, Adjustments, Shadows and Highlights, and instantly, and the start off baseline with no adjustment, you just take these sliders to the left, and that will be your original image. Okay, so there it is. You see here, this is before and after. You can see there's no change. So if you want to brighten up your shadow areas, you just take this slider and slide it over, and you can see that that opens up the dark areas, in this case, which is in the trees here. So you can slide that over, and then the tonal width will also adjust what areas get affected. So more areas are affected if you bring up the tonal width. So anyway, you can see there that that brightens up the trees. So there's the result, and then before and then after. And then for your highlights, there's this highlight area. And the first time you see this, you might, when you first bring up shadows and highlights, you might see it look like this. And what you want to do is click Show More Options so you can get the full choice of adjustments. Okay, so if you did this, you might, first time you do it, you might see something like a collapsed version, which is not the full version. So you want to click that, make sure you see the whole thing. Now that I've adjusted the shadows, I'm going to take the highlights and I'm going to darken the highlight areas. So by sliding this over, you'll see the sky getting darker, right? So once again, I'll just slide that over, and then tonal width will make it a little bit of a broader area. And you can see here just how it darkens the area. Now you don't want to go too much. I'm just going all the way over so you can see the adjustment that's happening. So now you can see here before and then after, you see that it lightened the shadows and darkened the highlights. And of course, if you want to back it off, you would open up the radius, and that will back off these settings a little bit. If you've gone a little too far with your settings, you can back them off by clicking there. And so now you can see that it's added a lot more variety, darkening the sky and lightening the dark areas. Let's try it with one other image. I've got this other image. Another reason shadows and highlights is really good, another tool that it's useful for, is if you have a backlit photo. So I've got a backlit photo here. You can see here we're walking in Vegas, and this is just backlit, right? Everything's dark, and then the lights in the background, and the whole thing is just backlit. Horrible, right? So I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Shadows and Highlights, and you'll be able to see what it does here. I'll zero it out, right? Zero that out. Okay, so that's before, and so I'm going to open up the shadows. So open that up. You can see it lightens that up here, right? You can see I can bring that tonal width up, which really helps, right? And that you can see here before, after. And then for the highlight area, if I want to darken that sky, I just take this over, and you can see it darkening. Of course, you don't want to go too much, but open up the tonal width, and so now before and after. And an image like this is so poorly taken that you're never going to get it perfect. It's never going to turn into, a stellar image. But you could improve it if you really wanted to see the person that was backlit, or the subject matter. If it was just you wanted to somehow improve the image because you didn't want to delete it and you didn't want to get rid of it, but you really wanted to see the information and try to fix it as much as possible, then for a backlit image, this is a good tool.